Range Suarez. Yeah, interesting case here for Ranger. He's at spring training, which has always been a problem for him. He can never seem to get
Yep.
to spring training on time, but he's there. So already off to a good start. The Ranger we saw 2 years
Yeah.
ago with the 1.6 or whatever it was, 1.8 ERA, that's not Ranger Suarez. He's a low threes pitcher who you feel good about. You feel good about Ranger starts. Keep the ball low. Just let him pound it into the ground. And then when playoffs come around, game 3, Ranger, and maybe game 7. And he's that middle of the rotation arm that you can count on, and those guys are priceless.
Yeah, and not only is he a middle of the rotation guy you can count on him in big games, which you cannot say about everyone. There's a couple guys on this team I don't trust in a wild card or a division round like clincher. I won't go into that because this is about Ranger, but I think it'll be interesting. He hasn't really been able to post a regular season that kind of pops eyes just because, like you said, he's had late starts. He had the elbow injury from the World Baseball Classic, and then he had the visa issues the year before. Finally, just being able to be on time with the rotation, train with them, build up arm strength with them. I'm excited. I think a full year of him healthy goes a long way. He's consistency. That's what we need.
Consistency. And speaking of consistency, I'm going to go to the pitcher who I believe is the 4th best pitcher on the staff, not the guy who's going to be starting game 4, but Cristopher Sanchez, who has a spot. He has a spot. I think we know that much. Who is the real Cristopher Sanchez? Because if it's the version that we saw last year, we found a diamond in the rough because he copies Rangers' formula pretty much to a T. Just keep it low in the zone and let him pound it into the ground. He even kind of has the same temperament out there on the mound as Ranger. There's so many similarities between the two.
There is.
Yeah, but Cristopher Sanchez, him coming up last year and providing us those innings, he's never going to get the credit he deserves, but that team would not have done what that team did last year without him because Bailey Falter didn't work out. We had virtually nobody else who was able to come up. If it didn't work out with him, we'd be turning to the deadline, and I mean, we saw the price for pitching. We saw the price for pitching this offseason. Him stepping up and becoming a guy that we can actually trust was huge last year, and now it's just a matter of if he can continue it. Because the second season we saw Ranger kind of take a step back. The league kind of figures out what you're doing. Your formula isn't really a secret anymore to, especially the teams in the East, the NL East. They're gonna know what to expect from him, and if he's going to be able to make that adjustment and continue to find success, it's going to help us tremendously. And I think ultimately he will.
You think so?
I'm expecting,
What makes you so optimistic?
I'm expecting Ranger 2.0. I mean, I really think their stat lines
that's high praise.
Can look exactly the same. The formula's there. I mean, that's you work down in the zone and you limit those home runs that kind of get to Aaron Nola and get to some of the power pitchers. It raises your floor, and that's what you need with back of the rotation arms. You want a high floor. You don't need the high ceiling. You want the high floor. And Cristopher Sanchez's formula is something that you don't really lose that unless you lose your control, which I don't really think he will. He throws strikes and he has a commanding, really good command of all of his pitches. I just think maybe you're looking at more hits and a higher BABIP, but I don't think it's going to be a blow up like we kind of saw with Bailey Falter,
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's that similar to Bailey Falter. I know the size and the reach he kind of has reminds people of Bailey Falter, but I look at that changeup and I think of Cole Hamels. That thing is devastating. It's different than Cole's. I mean, but with a plus pitch like that, he still has room to grow with his fastball, and that's a really good 1-2 punch as is. I'm excited, and the guy floods the zone with strikes. I love him, and I think I think it may have had a huge impact on our strategy this offseason.
Yeah, it did, because we'll get to some names in a bit, but all those pitchers who are out there, when they looked at the Phillies and they kind of saw our commitment to Cristopher Sanchez, they don't want to come here knowing that we have 5 guys that we're going to throw out there. They want to know that they're going to have a rotation spot. And I mean, we kind of put our eggs in the Cristopher Sanchez basket, and for good reason. He deserved it after what he did last year. It's just a matter of that game 4 where he pitched in Arizona, instead of us being like unsure of like the situation, can he step up and be a guy that you throw out there in game 4 and you don't even think about it? He's your guy in game 4. Can he be that guy? That is the next step for him.